Now that is a manly wind chime. But that's not why I'm making a video. I got my dad's truck done last night, put the brake line in. Didn't film it, but it's done, working good. He had to go, so I couldn't finish it, or I couldn't film it, but this is what I got in last night around 8 o'clock. 97 Ford F150. People that owned it brought it to Fleet Farm, and they replaced the upper ball joints and the control arms in there on both sides, and they wrote on the repair order that it also needed a pitman arm, and it also said the power steering hoses were leaking. So I went and bought a pitman arm, and then this morning I crawled under there, verified that it was bad and it needed one. As for the power steering hoses, there's my light. They're dry as a bone. I hope that the mechanic just wasn't paying attention when he looked under here, but these right here are not power steering hoses. That is a power steering hose, and the only reason it's wet is because it's underneath these remote oil filter lines. Yeah. So that's kind of good news and kind of bad news. Good news, power steering lines are fine. Bad news is that these lines cost about 120 bucks, the cheapest I could find them. These ones are only like 20 bucks a piece. So I'm going to go ahead and tell them that. I also got to look at, what was it, the heating and AC system. Something was up with that. I'm not sure what, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attempt to take that pitman arm off. Looks like kind of a tight squeeze, but should be able to do it. I think I'm going to start by just getting this nut off and getting the nut on the other side off. Right there. Pull that pin out, that cotter pin out, and then take the nut off and see if I can't get it out of there and replaced. Well, seeing as this is my life, nothing's ever easy. Although that brake line did go on pretty good yesterday. But oh, this pitman arm's not so fun. I got of course that nut off. That came off real easy. If you can see it there, there it is. And I got the big nut off of here. But here's my problem now. This is the only puller I have that will basically do what I want it to here. And I can't start this bolt in the bottom for the puller because they put the frame in the way. Now they couldn't have made this like an inch over. No, I couldn't do that. So now what I'm gonna have to do, I believe, is basically unbolt this steering box here from this side, basically slide it out and kind of twist it so that I can start the bolt up from underneath, which is more work. God, I love Ford. Well, like I said before, nothing in my life is ever easy. I've got the puller on there and I've started to go with it, but as you can see, these pieces are starting to bend, which tells me they're going to break pretty soon, because this is a pretty cheap puller, only one I have. I broke the little baby 3-jaw puller I had working on my uncle's truck, so if I break this one, I'm pretty much SOL. So I don't really want to, but I may have to break out the fire and see if I can heat it up and get it out. Not fun. Oh, I think this cheap Chinese puller may just break, so it might be fun to watch. We're going to see what happens as I reef on it. It's either going to work or it's going to break. don't see it working and I don't see it breaking. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think I just broke it. Stripped out the threads. Yep. Oh no, I snapped it. Cheap Chinese garbage. I'm gonna have to go uptown and see if I can buy a real one. Oh, such is my life, huh? Well, I ran uptown and got me a new pitman arm puller. This one looks a little more sturdy than that Chinese piece of garbage. Note to self, Harbor Freight pullers, garbage. So I'm going to go ahead and try this one out. I don't think I'll break it. And guess what else showed up? My next project. I gotta look at the front of that thing because the thing melted. I'll show you in another video, but let's get that frickin' pitman arm off. Well, this job just keeps keeps sucking. Went ahead and I put my new puller on and cranked it up as much as I could go with the 1/2-inch ratchet I had. I couldn't pull it no more, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to heat it up and see if that'll just break it loose a little bit, just enough so I can pull it off. And I went to fire up the torch here. It ain't much, but a little heat will go a long way. And of course, there's no gas. It's empty. I let Banana use it one day and she didn't close the valve all the way, must not have, and it all just went bye-bye. So now I'm gonna have to reef on that sucker and probably play with my hammer a little bit. And then my memory card filled up. Just keeps getting better, but I managed to find another bottle of fire, so I'm gonna go ahead and heat it up again. I tried it once, didn't get it hot enough, which is kind of to be expected with a little torch like this, but if I hold it on there long enough and you know, keep pulling on that thing, hopefully I can get it to come loose. Yep, it's not really worth the money I'm getting. Well, it's out, finally. The heat didn't work. Heated up as much as I wanted to and tried to use a puller and that didn't work, so I went ahead and I grabbed my 1/2-inch breaker bar, which is on the floor somewhere, and reefed on that as hard as I could. Still wouldn't come. So when all else fails, 6-foot cheater pipe always does the trick. Reefed on that sucker, and finally she popped off. I went ahead and I already put it back on, the shield on and everything. It's all done. I was kind of sick of it, so I didn't film it, but put it on is pretty easy. You just line up, I don't know if you can see that real well, but there's like a thicker piece. There's 4 of them, a thicker spline, and you line those up with the corresponding ones on the shaft. You put that on, put the nut on, and then you go ahead and you put this in. It actually sits upside down, but put that in just like a tie rod, tighten her up, and then you're done. You put everything back together, bolt the steering box back in, and you're good to go. So one job done.